Welcome back, mathletes. So we have day 2 of the lesson we started yesterday, writing inequalities, and then also graphing those inequality solution sets. We'll make sure that you're good with those 4 symbols of inequality. Refer to your handout as needed. We'll write word sentences as inequalities, focusing a little bit more on story problem situations. We'll review how do we tell whether or not a given value is part of the infinite set of possible solutions or answers, and then we'll graph those. Just to review, we've got 4 different symbols. Symbol number 1 is where we talk about less than. It uses all the key phrases below. Then we move on to the greater than. Then we move on to the less than or equal to option because it has that little part of an equal sign at the base of that less than. And our 4th symbol is the greater than with the equal to option. So notice that there's several different vocabulary words for each one. Inequalities have more than one correct answer. They could even have infinite correct answers. So that's why we will graph the solutions to show all possible answers. Well, one of our skills is to tell whether or not a given value is part of the solution set or not. So we substitute and then we solve. And if we solve and it's true, then yes, that's a good answer. But if we substitute and it's false, then the answer is no, wrong. I'm going to try and figure out if n is equal to 3. So in place of the n, I'm going to substitute a 3. And in place of the other n, I'm going to substitute a 3. And I'm going to ask myself the question, is 3 less than or equal to -1? Well, a positive number is never smaller than a negative. And since 3 is not equal to -1, no, 3 is not a good answer here. 3 is greater than 3? Well, that's not true either. If this one had the or equal to option, then it would have been okay because 3 is not greater than, but it is equal to 3. But because I don't have the or equal to option on my inequality symbol, then I have to say, no, mine didn't work for either one. How about yours? Well, both of yours, 3 is a solution because 3 is smaller than 9 and 3 is greater than or equal to a -3 because any positive is always greater than any negative. How'd you do? Are you able to tell whether a given value is indeed part of the solution set of numbers? Well, now let's pay attention to each of these different types of graphs. Remember, graphs always start at some kind of a number on the number line. Graphs have some kind of a circle, whether it's an open circle like A or D, or a closed circle like graph B and C. And then we always have some kind of an arrow, and our arrows either travel left or right, depending on the direction of our answers. So, circle closed or open, arrow left or right. Each of these inequalities matches a graph. Let's see if you can match them up. Well, I sure hope that you said the first inequality was graph B. We started at a +2. It's greater and it's a closed circle, and so the circle's closed and heading to the right. Inequality number 2, x is less than 2, starts at 2 also, but this time our circle stays opened and our graph heads left because that's where less numbers live. And the next inequality, x is greater than a -2, notice that we began at the -2 for the next 2 options, but for this one, we're heading to the right, and our circle stays opened because we're not including -2 in this solution set. And the last one here, we looked at x is less than or equal to -2, so we would need to choose the graph that is closed and heads left. How'd you do on that one? Are you able to match each inequality with the correct graph? So this time I'm going to write and then graph. Mine has the wording, a number. Then I get the phrase, is no more than. Well, a number in this situation is just a variable. So I'm going to pick, that's not a letter. I'm going to pick a letter like Y. Now comes my inequality sign. If something is not more than, it's got to be less. And it doesn't give me the or equal to option with this phrase, so I'm just going to choose the less than symbol. And then 8's just an 8. Now that I see my inequality, I can graph it. So I'm going to identify a couple of numbers on the number line. I'm going to choose 8 because that's where my solutions begin. I'm going to leave my circle opened because it's not equal to 8, although it starts at 8. And because we're going less, my graph will head left. Put a little arrow on the end to show. These answers keep going and going and going, but oops, I just ran out of space. I'll give you one to write an inequality and then graph that inequality on your number line. A number B is fewer than 4. We'll pause the video while you work. Well, your inequality should have been written as your variable B and then the less than sign, because if something is fewer, that's just a fancy way of saying it's less. Your graph would have started on the number 4, leave your circle open, and head to the left where the less numbers live. How'd you do on that? Were you able to write your inequality? Did you start at the right solution? Did you leave your circle open to not include 4? And did you go left to pick all the numbers that are fewer than 4? This time, I've got more of a real-world situation involving inequalities. Sue's got some cookies. We don't really know how many cookies she has, but we do know Lucky Sue has more than 5. Wonder if she'll share with me. Because I don't know how many cookies she has, I'm going to pick C to represent Sue's cookies. Now, I know Sue's cookies, whatever amount they are, which is a mystery, is more than 5. So I'm going to leave my inequality symbol as just greater than. Because if it says she has a minimum of 5, well, then she could have 5, but she could also have more. But because it just says she has more, I know she doesn't have 5, so I'm not going to include the equal to part. Her cookies are greater than 5. Now to graph this, I'm going to put a couple numbers on my number line, identify the value where Sue's cookies begin. Now she doesn't have 5 because it's not equal to 5, so I'm going to leave my circle open. But she could have 5.5 cookies, 6 cookies, 20 cookies, 1,000,000 cookies. I'm going to head to the right where lots and lots and lots of cookies are existing. We'll give you a situation to try. The temperature was less than 88 degrees last night. Write the inequality and then show the graph to represent all the possible temperatures it could have been. So your inequality should have been written with a variable. I used T because the temperature was the thing that's unknown to me. Less than means it is not 88, but anything smaller than 88 would work. And on the graph, we would start at the 88 temperature, leave the circle open because it was not 88, and go left where the colder, colder, colder it gets. How'd you do on that one? Were you able to write your inequality and graph the solution set possibly? John scored at most 10 points in the basketball game. Now, we don't know how many points John scored, so his points are a mystery to me. But I do know that the most he scored was 10. Most means he could have scored 10, but since that's the most, he also could have scored less than 10. He could have scored 9 or 8 or 7. So now I'm going to graph to show all the possibilities for John. I'm going to start at 10. I'm going to close it in because John could have scored 10. But since that's the most he could have scored, I'm going to travel to the left because he could have scored 9 or 8. Now, I understand that you really can't score less than 0 in a basketball game, like a -1, -2. But since it's graphing possibles, numbers that fill in the blank here and make this inequality true still have to be included in the graph. So maybe John scored in the other team's bucket, and I would call that -2 points, John. You write your inequality and graph that. Your inequality would have been a variable, whatever variable you chose. I did M for money. The at least idea is greater than or equal to, because if something is at least, then the minimum it could be is $100. But you could also have more money than that. The graph would start at the number 100, close it in because 100 is at least 100, and then go to the right where the big bucks are. And if your bank account truly has at least $100, can I borrow 10 bucks? My next inequality shows a low sodium food can have no more than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. So in the real world, when we're talking about health and nutrition, we do pay attention to things like the sodium that's in food. And people with maybe heart issues or high blood pressure, they want to watch their sodium, which is really their salt intake. So to be considered a low sodium food, the food's sodium can have no more than 140 milligrams. It could have 140 milligrams and still be considered a low sodium food, but it could also have less than 140 sodium milligrams to be considered a low sodium food. And foods will try to label their products as a low sodium as a way to show their customers, you should buy this product because it's going to be healthy for you, especially if you're watching your salt intake. Well, the graph would look something like this. Put a couple of numbers here on my number line. I'm just going to chunk them by tens. 140 is where I'm starting. I'm going to close it in because a 140 milligram food is still considered low sodium, but anything less in sodium is also considered to be a good choice if you're watching your salt intake. Notice that the numbers we're not including are anything over here. So if you get something super salty, like maybe olives, those are very high in sodium. Those values would be on the other side of the number line. We'll give you another situation. When fishing, the rule is a striped bass, if caught, can be no less than 18 inches in length if you're going to keep it. Otherwise, it's really illegal. So when you're catching these fish here, it's got to be no less than 18. Write your inequality and graph it. So your fish could be greater than 18, and if that's the case, nice catch. But it can also be exactly 18 inches. So if you measured your fish, and with the ruler it measured 18 inches, you're welcome to keep it. If it's less than 18, though, you have to throw it back. Otherwise, if you're caught keeping a fish illegally, there will be consequences by the law. You can't keep the 16 inches, the 12 inches, the 1-inch fish if it's a striped bass category. That's part of the law. But anything bigger than 18 inches, even if it's like 18 and just a smidgy, you're welcome to keep it. And then hopefully you can catch something way bigger than that. How'd you do? Were you able to write the inequality? Did you get it graphed correctly? Well, now it's a chance for you to show me what you've learned. For the first two questions on journal page 176, make sure that you look carefully at the directions and you're going to write the inequality. Make sure you choose the right symbol. For numbers 3 and 4, all you have to do is tell whether or not the value they gave you is part of the solution set. For 5 and 6, remember, when you're graphing your inequality, figure out your number line numbers, start your graph, open or closed circle with a left or right arrow direction. 7A, you're looking to focus on ticket cost, while in part B, you're focusing more on ticket cost. So make sure that you're reading through your information and only taking out the information that is necessary for each of those two parts. Happy practicing!